Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Champions Corner. I'm your host, Josh Rich. Today, we have a special guest that's going to be joining us as we continue to move along with season two. Let me just go ahead and just say it to you like this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a true pleasure and an honor to introduce our diversity, equity, and inclusion pioneer and leader, Mr. J. Lamont Harris. He is one of the most talented and gifted business coaches, personal transformation coach, transformational leaders, and speakers in the United States today, serving as an executive leader with the John Maxwell team, the largest global leadership and training organization in the world, a company that works with Fortune 500 businesses, religious organizations, government departments, and school districts. Our DEIB Pioneer is a lifelong learner, expert, and a leader in his field. He is a self-proclaimed hope dealer, as his material and presentation delivery continues to be recognized as one of the most practical and comprehensible available anywhere today. He has the ability to change the way that we think about things, feel about things, and to make positive changes for all. So with that, please help me welcome my friend, your friend, J. Lamont Harris.
Jay Rich, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Good to see you.
Yeah, same here, man. It's been a long road, and it's always good to see a friend.
Yes, sir.
It's always good to see a friend, and it's always a pleasure to hear your voice, during our calls, man. So how are things going with you today?
Oh, I'm doing outstanding. Really excited about the fact that we're going to have this opportunity to do this long-awaited interview. So I've been looking forward to this and just so glad to have you on the show today.
Well, Josh, it's a pleasure. First of all, people say, how can you be the co-host and we don't know anything about you?
That's right.
I'm like, all right, I'm coming three ways. And everyone knows that I come on purpose, I come for a purpose, and I come with a purpose. That's it. Purpose, and purpose. So that's what you'll know about me.
Outstanding. And so when we talk about purpose, Jay, helping everyone to get a more of an understanding about who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself and, how did you get to the place that you are right now?
Well, I tell you what, Josh, I was not born this way. What you see right now, I was not born. I am a baby boomer.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in a place called Newport News, Virginia, one of the best places in the world. You got to go to Newport News, Virginia. And especially from a DEI perspective, again, I was discriminated against in the womb before I was even born. And when I was born a Negro boy in 1963 in Newport News, Virginia, Negro.
Wow.
And later I became colored. And in 1968, somebody told me I was, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. And in 1972, when the schools integrated in Newport News, Virginia, I began to see people that didn't look like me, that were not BIPOC, that were not people of color. And I think in 1972, that's when I really began to express myself differently. Keeping in mind, I grew up in a place, Newport News, Ridley Circle, Noosa Park, and I had a wonderful life. At least that's what I believe, and I still believe. I have still some of the same friends, and again, I was educated there in the public schools in Newport News, and again, one of the greatest places to live. And so this journey that I've been on has not been an easy journey. I've served in the military, the United States Army, airborne, air assault, hardcore, bad to the bone, baby. All right. And so I've traveled the world, not only from a military standpoint, but just from a pleasure standpoint. And so I've been on the mountaintop, but I've also spent time in what we call the valley, Josh. So I'm going to talk about the valley. Those valley moments are when you learn things. What you see right now, you should have seen me when I was on my knees. See, when you fall down, if you fall to your knees, you can crawl, but also when you fall to your knees, you can pray. And so for me, my journey has not been one that I can just write off and wave a magic wand and say, man, this was just wonderful. No, I had to work, man. I had to work. And everything that you see now is the body of the work. That means my faith, my relationships, my family, my friends, all of those things combined to bring me to the point where I am today. The movement that I am in right now, the leadership and bringing awareness to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging is not something that I was born with in 1963.
Mm-hmm.
I learned along the way. You know, I trained, I practiced, I studied, all of those things. You know, people say leaders are born. Hell no. I'm saying it on your broadcast right now. Hell no. And in Newport News, we say, hell no. You're not born. Leaders are trained. Leaders are built. Leaders are grown. You know, you grow up by learning things, and then you place it into what we call the practical application. My job is to work as a servant leader. And as a servant leader, that means that I serve people. I don't expect anything in return except for greatness. And as I always say, greatness is not on sale, and, you know, success is never on discount. But today, it's about service. How can I serve someone else? How can I help them? And that's been that way for me for, you know, many, many years. We're talking about over 20, 30 years that I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so that's what I've done.
Powerful, powerful. So, you know, as I'm listening to you, Jay, there's so many things for us to unpack about your story, because, you know, I heard you talk about being born in the 1960s, and shortly thereafter being a part of the public schools, being integrated there in Newport News, Virginia in 1972. So if you would take us back to that particular time period, what was that like for you? Did you realize that you were a part of the integration of the public schools at that point, or was this just you going to school?
A number of things. One, it was I credit my parents. 'Cause I was smart, John. I was real smart. Okay, so it was cool. No matter what school I went to, I was gonna get it in. But yeah, I realized a lot of things. I realized that I had a 45-minute to 1 hour bus ride to go to what we call, you know, up north,
Okay.
different part of town. I grew up in the East End, all right, or, you know, what we call the bottom.
Got it.
So growing up there, again, I loved it. We were, man, I'm still tight. I'm about to go on a cruise with my classmates, 40-year class reunion. But I realized a number of things, the inequities that existed. Later on, I looked at the buses that I rode on versus the buses that the children that were lived in the neighborhoods or close by, they rode on different buses.
Okay.
My buses, the seats were torn. It was writing all over the walls and the ceilings and everything. Their bus was real clean. So I first noticed that. I also noticed the textbooks. You know, back then we used to put grocery bags, the brown paper bags. You had to make a book cover. Well, we had.
I was in school too. Yeah.
We had to make book cover because the books that we received were sometimes torn and battered, and other students received the brand new, the nice page books. So when sometimes when you regress a little bit, you think, hold on, I didn't really notice that. But then you say, yeah, I did notice these things. Was I boisterous about it? No, never said anything about it. Just happy to have a book. I was happy to have a ride to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, you know, you take it in, and then you realize it later on that, wow, hold on, there was some inequities existing, even when we said that we're going to have equitable solutions and we're going to bring everyone equality at the time, which I don't even like equality. Ain't nothing equal about me. If you know me, everybody watching this, if you know me, you know there's nothing equal about me. I just don't do equal. I'm better than that. From an equitable standpoint, we missed a lot of things. There were a lot of things that were missing. And even from leaving Newport News and going off to college and the military. Away from there, I've never lived there since 1982.
Got it.
Never
Okay.
I left, never came back. I come back to visit frequently, but I've never lived there ever again. And when I left there, man, did I see the world.
Okay.
I saw a world that was not kind. I thought I had loving friends. I'm talking about Asian, Caucasian, Black, Muslim, Catholic, you name it, Jewish. Everybody seemed to get along.
Mm-hmm.
When I left there is when I saw other things as I traveled, not only in the States, but just in other countries. I saw a lot of things that I was not exposed to in my lifetime, and those experiences have led me to the work that I do currently.
So let me ask you this, because to that point, and thank you for that perspective. You brought up something else in our opening that I thought was really key, and you talked about practical application. Okay, so I'm gonna personalize this a little bit, Jay, because right now in my household, I have 2 children. They're young, right? As you know, I have a 7-year-old and I also have a 4-year-old. And one of the challenges that I feel like I struggle with is helping them to maintain the perspective about what it is that they have available to them today versus some of those things that I didn't have so readily available for me and in my household growing up, right? And not that I just had a horrible situation or anything like that, but we want to progress in each generation. And so, based off of how you've experienced the world at this point, you have a family yourself and a father and grandfather and so forth, right? So, with that, how do you convey that journey that you've experienced just in a short period of time that you've been living? How do you convey the changes that have occurred in society and, quite frankly, the opportunities that are still available for us to continue to progress? How do you do that so that this next generation or generations can be able to really understand that?
I become the broken record, Josh, that keeps skipping and saying the same thing over and over in a repetitious fashion.
Mm-hmm.
That means that because of my experiences, I have to share that information not only with my children, my nephews, my nieces, my extended family. I mean, the children that live in my neighborhood. I do it. Colleagues, I do it. Clients, I do it. And that's simply because, as I iterated earlier, when I told you, spending time in the valley, you learn. You're going to fail at something. You're not going to be successful all the time. If somebody say they just successful all the time, that's a bunch of BS. That's basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real. And unless you've been through tests, see, I can testify because I'd have passed a bunch of tests. And so because of that, I can share that information. I can come right now to your home and your children are very, very powerful. And if I was unsuccessful at something, then I need to name it, explain it, and perhaps demonstrate, hey, this is the way that I did it when I was successful. This is the way that I did it when I was significant. This is the way that I did it when it did not work. And those things are important. So we have to have these conversations and even practical applications on a regular basis to teach. This book that's behind me, I'll show it to you. I found it in the hotel. I didn't steal it. But this book that I have back here, I'll pull it out. I read something that said, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is older, he shall not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. That means that each and every one of us has an opportunity, but a greater responsibility to train children up. And I expand and go further than just training children. We have to train each other up. We have to bring knowledge, wisdom, our craft, our expertise.
Mm-hmm.
We have to bring that to the forefront. We have to just share it with people that don't have that knowledge. And that's the business that I'm in right now. I am a BIPOC cisgender male. And I love people. I love all people, even the people that may have a microaggressions towards me.
Mm.
I'm still your friend. I'm gonna extend my right hand. I'm gonna bring awareness. I'm gonna bring comfort. I'm gonna bring great conversation. So I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna run from the fight. And right now, Josh, we are at a time where we're better together than we are separated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said with that. And Jay, you just said a few terms there. So for our audience, they may be familiar with it, but if they're not, can you just take them through, give them a brief overview? What is BIPOC? What is cisgender? What does that mean, and why is that so important right now for
BIPOC. Let's talk about BIPOC. BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color.
Mhm.
Black Indigenous People of Color. So you see this lovely, lovely, lovely melanated skin that I have in front of the screen. That's BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color.
Mhm.
Latinos, you name it. We are BIPOC. And then cisgender.
Yep.
Cisgender is I was born a Negro boy. I was born a male, and I still identify as a male. So cisgender means that the term that I refer to myself is as a male, and that's what I was born, a male, cisgender.
Got it. Got it. And thank you for clarifying that, Jay, and helping people to really understand, what those terms are, because that's important, right? That we don't make assumptions, that everybody understands what it is that we're talking about. And I just mean across the board. When we're communicating, we want to make sure that we're making real connections, and that people can understand that different perspective there. Now, something else that you spoke about before, and I think that this is really important to note. A lot of times when we see someone or we hear people talk about somebody that is quote unquote successful, we see all of the, I guess, the exterior aspects, or in many cases, the exterior aspects may be symbols of success, right? You may even hear people say, "Oh, you smell like success," or "You smell like money," or what have you, right? But that valley experience that you led with, why is that important for people to be able to really hear now, and 2022 especially, to be able to hear about the valley experience?
Well, one word you said was success. That's something I don't care for.
Mm,
I don't care to be successful. I don't even like people that say they're successful. If you're not being significant, not being significant, then really you're not doing anything. You self-serving. If you think that you're successful, then you're serving yourself. If you are significant, that means you're serving other people. And our goal in life is to be significant over being successful. So you're successful in your own household. You're successful from what people see extrinsically. But significant goes a longer way. It takes a longer journey when you are significant. That means it becomes impactful. That means you're changing and you're transforming other people's lives. That means you're transforming your own life. But successful, you'll be successful for one day, and then you can go to the valley.
mm.
But if you're significant, you're going to be on Mount Rushmore. You're going to stay there for a long, long, long time. And Josh, that means that, and again, being impactful, that means that we're talking about extending learning, we're extending opportunities, we're extending just people's depth. Where now they are going from A to B to C to D to E all the way to Z versus being successful when they went from A to B. That's all.
Got
That's
it.
all. Successful is like an event. It has a start time and it has an end time. Start, end. Successful, unsuccessful. So just think about it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And something else, as you were explaining that, something else that I was thinking about, is that everybody at some point, I believe, is going to have the valley experience, right? And it may not show up the same way in your life that it shows up in another person's life, but it's still going to be there nonetheless. For someone that feels right now that they're in a quote unquote valley, the month of May is National Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And so there's been this conversation about, okay, if somebody's having a challenge, is it appropriate for them to say that maybe they're having a mental health issue?
Yes, sir.
Or because back in the day, right, or years ago, we were told to just quote unquote toughen up, right? And you know, maybe sleep it off or what have you. So for people that are trying to really navigate that balance between understanding mental health as well as the stigma of shake it off, right? Just get some sleep, you'll feel better, or you know, you just got to be tough. And they're feeling like they're in that valley experience right now. You know, what would be your message to them if you're trying to not just trying, but if you are speaking hope for that individual or those individuals right now?
Wow, man. Thank you for sharing that, first of all. Because we come 100.
Yes.
100 means that you and an individual that may have time in the valley, that may be having emotional challenges. And I'm gonna say I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say my people. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't really care, Josh. You know I am. What come out of my mouth is gospel. So oftentimes, BIPOC people. There you go. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it like that. But everybody, but a lot of people during time, like, well, certain groups, we don't go and see counselors.
Mm-hmm.
Certain groups we don't have mental health challenges. We're not going to see anybody because you're crazy. That's what they call you, crazy. And I say to everyone that's hearing the sound of my voice, that see my lips move, that if you are having a mental health challenge, that you need to talk to someone. You need to seek help. Mental health can become significant in your life, where it shows up every single day. It shows up. You can go and have a drink, 2, 4, 5 drinks. You can do whatever you want to do. But when you wake up in the morning after sleeping it off, it's waiting right there on your doorstep. It's not going anywhere. Mental health challenges, they accompany you everywhere you go. It's like, what we going today? What we gonna do today?
What are we going to do today? Right.
What are we gonna do? They going along like a passenger.
Yeah.
So we have to address that. This past month was Mental Health Month, and I encouraged a lot of people. We have to talk to people. There's nothing wrong with me. I've talked to counselors before. Nothing wrong with me. Look at me, man. All of this 6 foot and pretty. All right. So ain't nothing wrong with me. Go and talk to somebody. Talk to your pastor. Talk to a counselor. But it's something that we have to do. When we get down in the valley, some people can't handle it. I watch my parents, the resilience of my family as a whole. Man, I come from a strong family, and a family that has faced tragedy. In 1986, my father committed suicide. Okay. And you talk about something that's impactful. That's something that doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. I tell people, I talk to my dad Christmas, a day before Christmas or 2 days before Christmas. Hey, I'm going to be coming home. It's snowing and all this. What do you want? He was going to get me some fish, and I'll see you in the morning. Next thing you know, he's gone. So it can be something that's challenging for a lot of people. And again, for me, I have to talk about it, but also have to be about it. And I'm not going to sit here and preach when it's time for me to teach and show and say, you know what? You got to show up. If you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. If you're experiencing a challenge in your life and you can't overcome it, you can't figure it out, speak with someone. You have challenges at work. Talk to somebody. Do something. But don't just sit there and ponder and then take these things home with you and carry them around just like dead baggage. And this baggage, we take it everywhere we go. So at some point in time, we have to stand up to this thing that we call mental health challenges. And when you spend time in the valley, spend time there, learn something, and then come back just more and more powerful, more knowledgeable, stronger, better, and just be brilliant. That's all. That's what we do. And that's how we're built. And so we can't lie about it. You can't lie about it. You can't fake it. You know, back in Newport News, we call faking the funk. All right. You can't fake it. You can't fake it. This is real, and that's something we have to overcome. And then once we decide we're ready to overcome and we take measurable steps, actions, and then that's the transformation process. You know, while I've never had thoughts of or anything like that of hurt myself or anything like that, I have experiences just like anybody else where things don't go your way. So what do? You have to figure it out. You can't just run. You can't run away from it. You can't run away from it. Josh, you just and everybody listening to me. IKNOW my NO. I know my no. As an entrepreneur and a businessman, I have submitted so many proposals, contracts that people have said no. They said NO to me. So what am I to do? Do I sulk? Do I go back? It's like, all right, I know. They said no. I got to keep it moving. Yeah, I have to keep it moving. I think I showed you some financial stuff before we got on here today. It's a blessing. It's a blessing, you know. And so I tell everybody, you know, we just have to walk the walk, just like we talk the talk, but you have to do it every day. You have to wake up to this every day. And if you're going to be in the movement that we're in, when we're talking about leadership, we're talking about DEIB, we're talking about helping people, then this is what you truly have to do.
Jay, you said so much, and I want to say thank you so much for your transparency with your story and being able to share that with others. The Valley experience, you know, I was reading a statistic, you know, recently that talked about how many people were feeling down. Specifically, you talked about how you're a baby boomer. I'm a millennial, right? But millennials are feeling very down and you know, dare I say, depressed right now, and by so many numbers. And so you look at that and you say, well, wow, you have access to so much more today than, you know, other generations had. And, you know, people may say, well, what are you sad about? Or, you know, why are you feeling this way? And sometimes people don't even know why they're feeling that way. But, you know, that it was a few things as you were speaking that really came to mind. And one of them, when you gave your example about submitting proposals as a businessman, a business person, and you're not getting yeses to every proposal that you submit. You get some no's, and quite frankly, that is a part of the journey of being a business person, being an entrepreneur, especially that you're going to get some no's before you get some yeses, right? On a consistent basis. That said, there's a like a cartoon graphic that I've seen before, and maybe you've seen this, where they're showing two men that are digging, and it looks like in a cave, and they digging there for gold or what have you. And one of them, had they taken their axe or their pitch, whatever they were using to dig, and if they just hit it one more time, hit that wall one more time, they would have broken through to the riches, so to speak, that they were searching for, more specifically the gold. And they turned around, right, and started walking the other way. Now they came such a far way, right, in order to get to that point, but they gave up right when they were on the midst of, or the verge of, their breakthrough, right, to be able to get the payoff for the hard work that they've been putting in. And in the other picture, that person was still moving, still going towards it. They had further to go, but they were looking like they were ready, and they stayed with that. And I think that that could be so difficult to do, because when you are just speaking to yourself and you don't have other people speaking into your life, potentially just like you did, sharing your experience. Yes, you're significant, right? But at the same time, you realize that there's others that are significant as well. All of us have a role to play in this thing that we call life, right? And so we need to speak life into each other and share our experiences, so that people don't have to necessarily go through all of the experiences that we've gone through. They can learn from that, because I do believe that there's enough opportunity out here for everyone to be able to, move forward and have the opportunity for, dare I say, Jay, that success. I know how you feel about that, but just in that sense, there's opportunities that are there. So I just wanted to thank you for sharing in a such transparent way about what your experience has been, especially speaking to those that may feel like they're in that valley experience right now.
Yeah, and Josh, again, I thank you, and this is something that we do every day.
Yeah.
We wanna uplift people, and for me, what you see is what you get. Is 100%. It's 100% what you're gonna get, and for everyone that's watching us today, um, again, I say let's be significant. Let's do something for other people, especially right now. Now is the time. We are better together than we are divided. I said that earlier.
Hmm.
And I also will quote John Maxwell: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with a team. And for me, I love collaboration, and I love to see people being significant. I love to see people win, man. I just like seeing people win, especially if they're on my team.
But okay, I'm gonna put that there for just a moment. I know that you've had your military career,
Yeah,
you've had your educational career.
yeah.
Now you are a leadership coach, and you're providing direction for so many people. But by the same token, I know that in some ways you haven't always had the line of thinking that you have today, right? So when you think about your military experience and how maybe you were at that point, was there anything that maybe helped you to, I guess, progress or to make a change based off of how you were seeing things at one point in your life?
Um, I think that the military. I wish they would make everybody serve a minimum of 2 years in the military. Okay, that's
Wow.
all I will say about that.
Sure.
Um, but my military experience, again, we talk about being significant because of the roles that I played in leadership roles, even as a non-commissioned officer and serving as a drill instructor,
Hmm.
and as a commissioned officer, being able to work with troops. I'm talking about young Americans, especially in the initial training environment where they just come off the street, and molding and shaping them. So that played a major role in just everything that I have ever done. Um, Everything that I've ever done. And then the transformation from being a soldier to becoming a civilian. Um, Civilians think differently. Civilians say, hey, it's 5 o'clock, time to go. Soldiers say, oh, hey, we got to finish the mission. So the mentality and the mindset is totally different. And so for me, I think that those experiences and being placed in leadership positions have really impacted my life, because I still, right now, I can spit a block of instruction right now off the top of my head. Now you were like, okay, you're probably thinking this guy is still in the war or the military or something, because I can still do that. It's embedded in me. That's who I am. And the military way of thinking is totally, totally, totally different. It's an experience all within itself. And I bring those as a part of the practical application into the workforce, into the classroom, into the event hall, into the arena, wherever I am. I try to bring those experiences to the forefront because, again, I'm talking about significance versus being successful. Um, because I'm thinking about even some of the soldiers that I had. They still communicate with me right now, you know, and you're like, wow, this guy, their grandparents and things like that. And you're like, all right,
Wow.
this guy, he was the one that trained me and so forth. This was my commander, or this was my platoon sergeant and so forth. And for me, I experienced both, again, commission and non-commission, both sides, green to gold program. I
Okay.
experienced, I experienced it all. And so again, to say, hey, I served, but I also helped some people along the way. Um, that means a lot to me. But to see them today, man, is powerful. And not only them, but just some of the youth coaching AAU basketball, seeing the some of those student athletes progressing in families now, and business owners. Um, those things mean a lot, John. They mean a heck of a lot. And I'm gonna go even further. You and I had two cohorts. Okay, we had two cohorts that we work with, and again, I'm saying significant because I look at the individuals that participated and completed those cohorts that were showing up for all of our trainings and meetings, and I look at those individuals and what they're doing now. I'm just so happy and proud that
Right.
they are out there putting in the work, and that's an extension of not only yourself, but it's an extension of me when they go into um, other environments and they expand upon the learning that they had. So that means that we had some transformation there, and that plays a significant role.
Outstanding. And I definitely agree with that. I think one of the most fulfilling experiences that you can have as someone that is, helping to lead a group and helping people to better understand how to work with each other, right? Because I think leadership really comes down to how do you unify. Okay, how do you unify people towards a common goal? Okay, and we want that to be a positive goal. So when people come back and they say, you know what, that training that I took part in that you led, that really really helped me, and now I'm able to utilize that. Um, that's just so impactful, and those are things that you just can't take for granted. So thank you, for bringing that up. I want to go back for a moment because you talked about being able to feel like you made an impact and being significant in someone's life, and you used a term, and I think I'm familiar with the program, but you talked about being a commissioned versus a non-commissioned officer, and you also mentioned the green to gold program. So I got a few questions for you, and then we'll get ready to close out here. But why was the green to gold program so important for you to be able to take part in? And what did that really afford you as a result of completing that?
It changed my lifestyle financially.
Okay, that's
Um,
important. Yeah.
yeah, that was very important at the time,
Yeah.
but also it was again a significant moment for me because I made rank really 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 fast. I was high speed. I'm talking airborne, air assault, did it all, drill instructor, and I had completed my studies by that time.
Mhm.
Because it went before I left school. I ain't no degree,
Mm.
and so going into Fort Benning, Georgia, to OCS, Officer Candidate School, um, I had both sides. I had both sides of the house. I knew what it was like to be um, an enlisted person, and then I'm experiencing this as to be a commissioned officer. So I had both sides to work with, and for me, it was probably better for me because some of my comrades and even cadre didn't have an inkling. They didn't understand.
Mm.
It was butterball, what I call butterball, second lieutenants like me.
Okay.
All right. So I'm fresh out of college. I was a little older, but I had already experienced some things that they have never ever seen in their life before. I was a drill instructor. I had a badge, you know, and I'm like, okay, they don't get it. And the first thing, one of the most important things for me was something I learned and as part of be know and do in the military. We call it is TCOYS, That means take care of your soldiers. And I transformed this to the civilian sector to say TCOYS. Take care of your staff. Take care of your people. See, people don't leave companies. People leave people. They leave people. This great resignation we have going on now. They're not leaving the company. They're leaving the people. Their co-workers, the leadership or supposed leadership, the positional leadership.
Sure.
That's why they leave. So that's what I've learned, Josh. And I continue to utilize those tools that I've learned in today's society on a regular basis.
So with that, and thank you for explaining that, Jay, you talked about progressing, right? And how that benefited you financially when you're able to complete the Green to Gold program. And, if I'm understanding that correctly, so if you're enlisted and you didn't have a degree, then you're staying on one career track. But when you have the ability to finish your degree, and if you are accepted into the Green to Gold program, now you get to switch over into another career track. Did I understand that correctly?
That is. Josh, one of the things I always say is paper makes paper, okay?
Yeah.
Paper, meaning your education. The more education you have, the more financial gifts that you receive.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I consider myself, just like you, to be a lifelong learner. That means I want to learn something every day. I am by no means, if anybody ever calls me an expert, I'm gonna have to turn to Will Smith, man. Okay, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I know that's not good.
All right, I hear you.
I'm just joking, okay?
Yes.
But no, we don't do that. We have to be lifelong learners. I by no means, I never ever. When you become an expert, it means you stop learning. You know everything. I am by no means an expert because I'm learning stuff every day. Every single day, I want to learn something new. Every day, I'm hungry for it. And so, one of the things I always say is know thyself and seek self-improvement. I want to do something new every day. I want to learn something from someone. And I tend to do that on a regular basis. I'm very intentional about it. I want to learn from other people.
Absolutely. So to bring a parallel to, I guess, career progression in the civilian world, one of the things that I've heard people say is that sometimes when someone is getting promoted, or the further they go up, let's just say the corporate ladder, the more quote unquote out of touch they are getting with what it was like to serve in a entry level role. I know that you do leadership training, and then I just heard you talk about take care of your staff. So how do you convey that message in a way that is relatable for those that may be, going further up that corporate ladder, or those that are aspiring to do so, so that they're not thinking that, hey, it's every person for themselves. I had to, learn some things. So you're gonna have to learn some things too in order for you to progress, because nobody showed me, how to do that. So how do you deal with that type of dynamic with your leadership training?
Man, you must have been with me last week. This company I was in last week, because I ran across some people, might have been my age, that
Wow.
said I didn't receive training. I didn't have a mentor. I learned this job. I learned to work this piece of equipment on my own. I did this on my own. They didn't teach me anything, and that by far is something that we need to eliminate. We have to be bridge builders, especially right now in the workplace. We have so many, from a generational standpoint, we have many generations that are actually in the workforce today. I mean, we're talking about cross generational. I'm talking about from 18, I'm going to start at 18, from 18 to 80 that are still in the workforce, that sit next to each other, or in the same office, or in the same building, or in the same store.
Right.
So at some point in time, we have to continue to be bridge builders. We have to pass the knowledge down. And I think that's what we discussed earlier was about how do we share? Because some of those younger workers, older workers, regardless, they may have spent time in the valley and can impart the knowledge. And if somebody's been working at a company for 30 years and they know everything, They should share the knowledge. Otherwise, it's self-serving. That means they're going to be successful. Employee of the month 50 times, successful. But they're not significant because they're not helping raise the bar at the company. They're not helping the bottom line by mentoring. They're not helping anyone else but themselves. So when we come into environments and workforces like that, then we have to, and again, I'm saying we, that's you, me, and everybody watching this that are in positions to influence and to transform individuals, is to bring this message to them in a very direct, very direct way. And again, we may have to name it, explain it, demonstrate it so that they understand and get it. Too often we have silos that individuals are working in, and the companies, the businesses suffer because you have this one person with all of this knowledge that's just holding on to everything, and everybody else is still trying to figure it out when they know the solution. They know the process. They have all this intel, yet they keep it to themselves.
I couldn't help but to think, as you were giving that example from your training last week, we live in a time right now where, due to technological advances, that the information that we've known, let's say 2 years ago, for example, right, that information can quickly become obsolete. And so I know that when I first started in the workforce, right, and in my career and so forth, I don't think it was uncommon for people to feel that they had more job security, I would say, if they knew some institutional knowledge, they knew some processes that other people didn't necessarily know. But I think that we've reached a point in society now where, if you don't share information, you're really holding yourself back on your continued, growth in terms of being a lifelong learner, because we need the collaboration. The collaboration helps to bring about the innovation. And without the innovation, the company is susceptible to, potentially no longer existing, just because of how fast things are happening, within the world right now. And so it's really not only detrimental to the company to have people not thinking in a collaborative manner, but it's really detrimental to someone's career prospects to not want to collaborate, share best practices, and to really continue to look at ways for them to not only move themselves forward, right, through that approach, but also helping to bring other people along. Because quite frankly, I believe that we need each other in order for us to continue to maintain services and products that will continue to allow us to be relevant. That's just my thinking. And as you were saying that, I'm just like, wow, we got to get beyond it. We got to get beyond it.
Josh, I'm going to tell you right now, we have to motivate while we educate.
There we go.
And we got to inform so we can transform. And those 4 words, motivate, educate, inform, transform, they go a long way, because it's something that are actionable items that we must do. We must do on a regular basis. If you're looking at your bottom line, that's the last line on that profit and loss statement.
Right.
That's what you're looking at, the bottom line. So we have to motivate, educate, inform, and then transform. And that goes a long way, even with technology. I remember my first cell phone, it was the size of a woman's purse. It was a bag phone, okay? Wow. And it had a crank on it to crank the battery. And I look at telephones now. So we evolve. I always say, and I always say this: as the music changes, so must the dance.
That's right.
We have to change. We got to change.
Well, Jay, what I would say is I'm, ecstatic to have you not only participate in this interview today, because this has been, just a really positive experience. You shared so much knowledge. I've always enjoyed having the opportunity to speak to you and to learn with you and also from you, and to thank now for season 2 of Champions Corner. We're going to have you co-hosting, so I'm so honored for that, and I think that you're going to bring a perspective that is really going to help to keep the conversations going. Because as we talk about communicating, we need different perspectives, right? And I joke with you sometimes, but with you as a baby boomer, with me as a millennial, together we've seen a lot, but we also can help each other to be able to relate even more so with the workforce and with things that are happening in society today. So I'm really excited about that. My last question for you, Jay, is this. There's a business leader who's listening to our conversation right now, and they want to know, well, Jay, I know that you talk about DEIB. Why is that important for my business? You just talked about the bottom line. What could that potentially do, for my business? Or is it even relevant? Because, I don't have a Fortune 500 company. So is that important for me and my organization? So your thoughts, and we'll have that as the last word on that.
Well, I'm going to say this, okay? I'm going to remix it a little bit, because if you want to blow up, you got to grow up. And today DEIB is been getting some bad reviews in many situations, and that's simply because on the front end it's being done incorrectly.
Okay.
Many organizations are having what I call a check the box activity. Check the box, watch the video, let's put some posters up in the break room. While your frontline workers, middle managers, etc., may be experiencing unconscious biases, or what we refer to as implicit biases, based on their lens, where they're from, how they were raised, who they are, or who are in their inner circle. Your bottom line is going to be influenced and impacted every single day by those individuals that are in your workforce. Your frontline worker that has to go home every day to watch CNN and Fox News and see what's happening. Not so much as far as bringing us together, but more so what is dividing us, what makes us differently. Your middle managers and your hiring managers that may have limited access, knowledge, and or awareness when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and or belonging. Because of their limited lens, that means that you may be receiving the same type of employee every single hiring cycle. So what does that do for your business? What it does is your bottom line decreases versus increasing, because now you don't have a cohesive unit. You don't have a team that can communicate. You start placing individuals based on that lens, that how they were hired. So you may have individuals working, your frontline workers may look all the same. Your middle managers may look all of the same. Your senior leadership team and executives may look all the same and think the same way. I mean, you're not getting any fresh ideas. You're not getting different perspectives, simply because of what we see extrinsically, based on race, education, sexual orientation, religious, culture, all of those things. We place people into what we call boxes. So that means that your bottom line is going to be inside of a box. It's not going to move. It's not going to be positive. It's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be a place where people can thrive and authentically be themselves, so that the company can prosper, that the end user, the client satisfaction is not present. And today, when I say this, yeah, I'm talking about race. But when I'm talking about race, I'm talking about the human race. And the human race is what we need to bring back into this movement. Let's bring humans back. Let's bring dignity and respect back. And as a business leader, if you want to do this and you want to be courageous, I say join us. Join us at the table. Join us as we begin to move forward together for this collective effort to serve everyone. People with visible and hidden disabilities, they have a space. We have a space. And so in order to make the change, let's go from being successful as business leaders to being significant business leaders by bringing equity, inclusion, belonging, and diversity into the workforce.
And that, everyone, was the voice of J. Lamont Harris. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome, Josh. Hey, if not us,
Then who?
hallelujah, holla back, brother.